And welcome back to Rush Roundtable. This is episode 284, where we're going to be talking about Clockwork Angels, the title track. And hey, what a coincidence. Synchronized and graceful, we move like living things too. I'm your host, Paul. We've got Rob, we've got Shayne, we've got Eric, and we've got Alex. And we have a lot of song to get through, so let's take care of the housekeeping stuff. For starters, you'll be noticing that we're doing a lot more live streams. You are going to want to subscribe to our channel by clicking that button you see on your screen so you get notified about when that happens. And if you like what you see, click that little thumbs up like button. We'd really dig that. If you really, really dig what you're seeing, you could always send us a tip on Ko-fi. There's whiteboards to have and software licensing to be done and all that other corporate stuff no one likes to admit as goes on in the background. You can send us a tip on Ko-fi. Address is right there on the screen. And we are on Facebook. Find us here at Rushfans, one word. And if you like our merch, you can always go to our merch store, pick something up for yourself there. Over on Instagram, check us out over at Rush Lyrics. And I think that'll do it for the housekeeping. We'll leave it at that for now.
Oh, so, on Facebook, we only need 8 more so we can stream live to Facebook too. So tell your friends, invite them.
8. We only need 8. What do we lack? We lack 8.
8 people.
Subscribers on Facebook.
Yes.
Find us before we find you. All right. And on that special note, let's take a look at some of the artwork we've got for, and there's a lot of artwork. So if you've not helped yourself to popping open the vinyl or squinting on the CD, not to freak everybody out with the dual layout, but we always use the artwork for the song we're talking about as our backdrop. This is the song Clockwork Angels artwork. Rob, you had something to throw out about this.
Yeah, the whole thing with the gears and the steam and the clock face, of course, the opening on the side there where the gears are, just reminds me of like how, the angels are kind of gearing up to head out and make their pronouncements. So this artwork reminds me of that, like the sort of warming up before the show, so to speak, in Kronos Square. So that's the impression I get from this.
Well, it's also a behind the scenes type of situation too, because obviously the gears are always going to be hidden. So we're behind the face of that clockwork existence.
And we'll give you more of a teaser than a spoiler, although we have said, heads up everybody, that we will be talking about the novel Clockwork Angels as well. So, which Alex just held up right there, and Rob. But Rob, I think you're on Clockwork Lives right now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, as a teaser, not a spoiler, we do get a little bit more into the inner workings of what is behind that clock face. So that's all I'll say about that. So from there, as we do with every song from Clockwork Angels, we have a little prologue, a little thing that sets the mood. Our narrator tells us, the place I had most wanted to see, Kronos Square at the heart of Crown City. I had seen many images of the city before, and Kronos Square, but nothing could convey its immensity. The heaven-reaching towers of the Cathedral of the Timekeepers, or the radiant glory of the angels, land, sea, sky, and light, bathed in the brilliant glow of the floating globes. All right. And on that happy note, let's get into the song proper. So we have an intro. Who wants to tell us about the little lilting angelic voice we hear in the background before the guitars come in heavy?
Again, this reminds me of what we just saw in the artwork, the behind the scenes, the angels about to come out. I guess Geddy was sort of mimicking that type of thing of the angelic voices, about to come out and make their pronouncements. So that's the vibe I get from that opening vocalization, just the quietness of the opening, because something's about ready to happen. So things are winding up, Alex's guitar comes in, it's got that really gritty metallic sound. So gears are in motion.
Of course, for the tour, they had a bit of a backwards effect on the vocals, too. I was checking that out a little bit this morning just to see if there's anything that I lacked as far as information went.
I wasn't able to time it, but I did put just little notes, which are going to get a little redundant as I read these. But when we go through the verses, the pre-choruses, and the choruses, there's a growing amount or a reducing amount of whether it's echo, reverb. Some of our sound people speak up when you notice that it's immense in this part or something like that, but it's between the vocal lines of the verses, pre-choruses, and choruses. It increases and decreases, and sometimes it flat out sounds like almost a reverse echo. So, applying each one. So we'll get into the first verse, which is high above, and we're in storyteller mode, by the way, because notice that Caravan sets the stage for us, for you to be being the soliloquy of Owen Hardy, our protagonist, and now we're back in storytelling mode. Let's explain what we see. High above the city square, globes of light float in midair. Higher still against the night, clockwork angels bathed in light. I don't know how much we want to break these down. You want to start with the verse, and then we'll get into pre-chorus?
Yeah, let's do it.
I like that.
Storytelling wise, going back to the book, we get right into one of those fun Rush references. The globes of light floating in midair is a reference to cold fire from the book, which is sort of how they power things around Albion and the city overall. So obviously it's a reference to the song from Counterparts that we all know and love, Cold Fire. They just combine them together, Cold Fire, all one word for how they power the city. But the verse here, it's a big change from the intro and then from the part right after it, the pre-chorus. It's a lot slower. It's in a different time signature. This one's in a bouncy, very easy 4, I would say. Whereas the intro and the rest of the song is in 6. But it's a big change in feel to kind of show you, there's this excitement here, but it's peaceful. There's a peace in this town square before the angels come out.
Nicely done.
And is it like 2112? Is it 2 different characters? Is it 2 different points of view, like the verse and then the pre-chorus? To me, it seems like it's from 2 different people.
Yes, we haven't gotten to the pre-chorus yet, but yes, I would agree. I think
that's why it's a little more. Yeah, the verses are a little angelic sounding to me. I think it's to me, it's the announcer. Pardon?
Optimistic almost, like we've if you've been following Clockwork Angels, Candide, it's based on Candide from Voltaire, which had this dripping optimism amidst all these trials, and that sounds really beautiful and wow. So,
and to me, it's like the announcer that's selling the show to them.
And also, too, if you want to speak to the floating aspect of it, pretty much all the tonality is very suspended, like suspended chords. sus2, sus4, 7s. I think at this point in the verse, if I remember right, Lifeson's pretty much got more of a bit of like a suspension or like a 6/9 chord in there for the arpeggio. So there's an awful lot of harmony that's not just major minor. It has that little bit of ambiguity to take you around.
And a lot of open strings, which is really an Alex signature thing to have all those open strings. Keeps it really big and jangly. And Geddy's bass throughout this is swung almost. It gives it that bouncy feel that I was mentioning earlier.
I think even Alex was talking about what Eric just brought up, is that Neil wanted to be a little more loose and not so composed when he does his parts. He said, I'm just going to go in and play. He didn't really come in with an idea, so to speak, but Alex's ideas coming in, even that ascending thing again, just like in Caravan, not chromatic, but ascending arpeggios creates that. Now you're focusing up. So I think that's a really smart writing on Alex's part in response to, Geddy and Neil responding to Alex. So there's a lot of interplay going on here, but that loose feel is like, you don't really hear that too much in Rush songs, like this relaxed feel, So I think it's apropos, perfect.
Yeah, and I think if you watch, I haven't watched in a while, but I have this, image in my mind of watching the live version of this song, and during this easygoing, more feely part of the verse, you can kind of see Neil rocking back and forth in and out of the time. So it's really a feel thing for him too while he was playing this song. And then going into the pre-chorus where it picks up pace, changes time signature, gets really heavy. I think there's an interview with Nick Raskulinecz where he says, as Neil was counting in to record this, he'd tap his drumsticks and then get right in on the 6/4. And the intent was, we'll just get rid of that, in editing. And Nick was like, no, that sounds really cool. And so that's why you hear those, I think it's 5 leading into it, into the time change. So it's a really cool little addition there where it's just he's counting in and they decided it worked and left it in the song.
Excellent. And so let's get there. A pre-chorus starts here where you said and you promise, and we again our aspect change, which Shayne will address, but you promise every treasure to the foolish and the wise, goddesses of mystery, spirits in disguise. Every pleasure we bow and close our eyes. Oh, clockwork angels, promise every prize. Shayne, talk to us.
Does it seem a little sarcastic to you? To me, it seems a little cynical, skeptical,
Biting, cynical. Yeah.
And this is where it changes, because here it's talking to the angels, whereas in the verse it seems like it's talking about the angels. And then of course the music's driving harder during the pre-choruses, and then Geddy's voice gets more aggressive. It reminds me a lot of 2112 in that regard when he's doing.
I was just about to say that if anyone out there is familiar with 2112.
What song is that?
You haven't heard about it.
It's obscure record. Yeah.
I think you're right about the cynicism, though. We were talking in BU2B about how loves us all to death is, one of those obvious double meanings for what the watchmaker is up to. But that last line of the pre-chorus, Clockwork Angels promise every prize, that kind of has that same feel to it, where it's like, oh yay, they're promising us everything, but on the flip side of that, they're promising us everything, that kind of deal.
And in his interview with Jim Ladd, Neil had brought up the whole idea of the pageantry when they were talking about this song specifically. This is the pageantry and the showmanship of that watchmaker, like the benevolent dictator, so to speak. But is it me, or when you hear promise every prize, am I the only person who thought of prize every time?
Mm-hmm.
Going back from
the books
when Neil was working in the carnival.
Right.
Way back in the day.
Oh, yes. That's right. Mm-hmm.
A prize every time. I don't know. That came to mind instantly reading those lyrics on here. It's like,
That's a great pull. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
From the circus, right? So.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So, and a carnival may come up at some point. So we'll put a pin in that too. Anything more on the pre-chorus before we move on to the chorus, musically or lyrically or thematically? All right, let's get us some chorus. So the vocals, by the way, that's, I guess, going from the pre-chorus to the chorus. When that first line from the pre-chorus, you promise every treasure, comes in, we talk about that like kind of bombastic feel of the guitar, the music, everything. The vocal too, it's almost like there's that, again, I'm going to use the wrong term, so someone can correct me here or in the comments, but like a reverse echo where it's like, whoosh, and then it's up to you. It's more so with the chorus. The vocals are now, they're layered, they're doubled, there's a harmony in there. So it sounds very like choral, like a choir. So, and I know that's not a mistake given the theme of the song and the name of the song. So clockwork angels spread their arms and sing, synchronized and graceful, they move like living things. Goddesses of light, of sea and sky and land. Clockwork angels, the people raise their hands as if to fly. As if to fly.
First and foremost, I really was in watching the video on the tour. I couldn't help but think of the fact that did they intentionally do the Queen maneuver, as with "We Will Rock You," where they thought, what if we have an audience participation section? Because obviously live, Geddy's looking to get all the people to raise their hands as if to fly. As if to fly.
And if you've read the book, you know that when the angels are produced and they come out and they dispense their wisdom to the crowd, the way they describe it, hands up, and everybody's hypnotized by it as they speak and they give their wisdom. But they also notice, they hint at, and someone please, if you've read it recently, jump in here. But the way he describes it, you wonder if there's something in the air that they might be inhaling or ingesting.
Right.
And everything seems so ethereal and wonderful.
Part of the show.
Yeah.
Could be like in Vegas where they inject oxygen. They put oxygen into the casinos to keep people alert.
Right.
Happy.
You get that baked, freshly baked cookie smell in some open houses for real estate.
Yeah.
Now they don't need it. It's just like, it's here, buy it. That's neither here nor there.
And people at concerts, they raise their hands at concerts too. I've seen it happen in a few churches. It kind of reminds me of the showmanship. Sorry, I just thought of this, or I would have added it in the notes. But that Steve Martin movie, Leap of Faith, where he's the kind of the con man evangelist, and just the reverence they have for him. It's just to me, this is kind of that same frenzy that he draws from the crowds in that show.
Yeah, I had to wonder.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm about to change.
I was just agreeing with you that I had to wonder if Neil was thinking in terms of like with mega churches as far as the show, and as far as having literally 1,000 or a couple of thousand people with hands in the air at that point.
I think
in
so.
that interview I was talking about, he specifically said in reference to this, the pageantry and the showmanship involved in that kind of thing. So I think that's sort of given. I agree.
Yeah.
And certain Rush shows are very aromatic as well to make you want to raise your hands, So pass something around, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah.
Back to 2112. No, but seriously.
Right.
And they move like living things. That line jumps out at me too, where somebody knows that it isn't real. They know that it's like the Wizard of Oz, and there's a man behind the curtain, and he's pulling the levers, and he's running a show, and it's synchronized, it's graceful, it's perfect, but it's not real. It's mechanized, it's automated, and it's AI. Oh wait, it's not AI,
but and there's a lot of
doing it to ourselves. Go ahead, Eric. Sorry.
You're fine. There's a lot of hints of it in the novel of Clockwork Angels, that there's something not quite right about the angels, and I know Clockwork Lives dives into that a bit more, and it concludes in Clockwork Destiny. But yeah, it's quite obvious that these angels aren't what they seem. They're up to no good in some sense, or at least the way that they're being used.
Okay. Thanks for that. I've wondered that, because I just
stated.
Are the angels some kind of like a MacGuffin or something? What role do they play? So yeah, appreciate that, Eric.
I'd be afraid to be a spoiler, but
no, you perfectly stated. That was fantastic. So
okay,
Shayne, you have homework. Read Lives and Destiny.
Yeah. It's well worth it.
Yes.
Which is my next question. Thanks.
All right, we're going to interrupt the song. We interrupt this song, but not this roundtable. For a quick jump in, it was suggested that this might be a good spot to show that each song on the album has its own rune. And here's the rune for Clockwork Angels, which is, and this is from rushvault.com, by the way. So thank them very much for the legwork in this paragraph. The rune is metallurgy, which refers to the metal gears and wheels inside the clock tower that makes the hands and the Clockwork Angels go round. The Clockwork Angels represent icons, almost like religious idols, to which we pray good things will happen to us. They are containers for our hopes and dreams. By investing in their symbolic power to watch over us like angels, they reduce the need for us to feel like we have to manage our lives on our own. Instead of using our reason to take matters in our own hands, we just say the angels will look out for us, and we feel comforted by that. But of course, we're abdicating our moral responsibility to a mere idol. Neil, on the June 13th Jim Ladd show, the one I keep referring to, says the angels are indeed icons created by the government to comfort people and also to entertain them. And I believe the quote that he brought up was, I did write it out and now I can't find it, but the whole idea about give them bread and services.
And they will never revolt.
Yep. So
Let me cake, right?
Sounds familiar.
I always found
I
this
like that
part.
line too about.
Oh, sorry.
I like the part about the angels representing icons. It reminds me of the Wizard of Oz again, where the watchmaker knows the people are going to buy into the angels a lot easier than they're going to buy into him. So he created and programmed this icon to
and the
send the message
stability.
that he wants to send.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, that speaks to merchandising and just iconography and semiotics in general, because when you have something that just fits nice on a T-shirt or something like that, it's a nice little way to placate or what we lack as far as like, oh, I like this, I'm part of this.
Nice.
And I'm going to pause since I've interrupted Eric, so I'll be quiet.
Oh no, I was jumping ship to the next topic. So I think we'd be remiss if we didn't recognize the, I guess, second time signature change, or the third time signature with the chorus, where it changes. I would say it's 6/4 in the pre-chorus and then 6/8 in the chorus. And the first part of the chorus, Neil's going up and down the toms, just up and down, back and forth the entire time. And then the second half, he really nails the hits on, like, I guess, the 1 and the 4 of that 6/8 to make it very accented on those beats. And then as we get to As If to Fly, we've got to get back to the 4/4 of the verse. How do we do that? We almost make it free time at those As If to Fly, where we just kind of let the cymbals ring out. We let Geddy sing them, and then we go right back into the 4/4 of that next verse. So just flawless execution of changing time signatures where it's not jarring at all.
When we get to the third chorus, I want to come back to what you just said, Eric, because that fits in perfectly with something else I noticed as well about the choruses, but I'll just put a pin in that for myself. Yes. Anything else on this chorus before we move on to the next verse? All right, next verse. Again, back to that vocal effect. It's subtle, but it's there. And I think this is the first voice again, that objective storyteller voice. All around the city square, power shimmers in the air, people gazing up with love to those angels high above. And high above, by the way, since we're talking vocal effects, above trails off too. And then right back into the pre-chorus again. With celestial machinery move through your commands, goddesses of mystery so delicate and so grand. Moved to worship, we bow and close our eyes. Oh, clockwork angels, promise every prize. That almost sounds insistent or like beseeching.
Yeah, so I just like the vocal treatment because it's bringing you up and then it brings you down to the crowd level, which I think is like, again, just the imagery of that reminds me of like moving pictures, that type of musical treatment with the lyric just kind of gives you that cinematic picture that, things are going up. Like a camera is kind of moving through, like, you see at the games, over the field, through the crowd, as I bang into my camera. Great. I love that. The way they produce that bit. I mean, that's gold. I love it.
Well, their first pre-chorus, the cynicism of it, the idea of someone maybe going to the square just thinking, oh yeah, this stuff, and then obviously by this time they're in it, they're basically in the square and it's happening. It's just I guess the idea that there's an acceptance and a joining of the masses at that point, even if temporarily, of hey, we're watching this thing, this is awesome, in a certain extent, or so I believe. You can disagree with me.
I buy that.
And I think that that line, move through your commands, is really interesting because it kind of goes back to what Shayne was talking about. Whose perspective is that coming from? Who are they? Whose commands are we talking about? I think in some sense, it's clear that it's the watchmaker, but Owen, the main character, doesn't think or know that at this time. So it's just another interesting line, maybe of cynicism of, is it everybody's command that's sort of saying, this is what they must do. Of course that they're saying these things. They have to, this is how things are. So I think it's just a really interesting line to focus on.
It's like the innocence of Owen, because he's never been there before. He's never seen the angels. Everyone else has seen them. everyone's got their passes to go see them, right? Supposed to get issued a permit, or not a permit, but a card to get in to see them. So his whole
Francesca has, though, when he sees them, Francesca has, and I think it's, if I remember correctly in the book, it's not an afterthought. That's the wrong phrase, but if you know where I'm heading with that, after they're done, she kind of gives her own like, I was watching you watch this, and wow, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So
yeah, two different perspectives there going on at the same time.
Yeah.
Any chances of a little self-deprecating because is that the right word? I might have messed up the word, but because about especially their keyboard era days where a lot of their performance was timed and electronic and had they had to play along with the sequence. Do you think any of it was kind of reference to, yeah, we did that a little bit too?
Yeah, there's definitely a nod to technology and the idea of it controlling, which is kind of like a mirror of what's happening now. Technology is starting to do these tasks, for us, but we created it. So,
yeah, it makes sense as far as that being a good sort of juxtaposition for them to sort of say, hey, at this point, why don't we just play? Just, like got Steve Dallas yelling, wing that mother. Because the idea is like, you guys have been playing together for decades. You can just wing it and it will be fine. You can let that voice trail off to change times, and you're going to hit it at the right time, the right instant.
Right.
So.
Okay, let's knock this next chorus out so we can get to the solo and the interlude. Clockwork angels spread their arms and sing, synchronized and graceful. They move like living things. Goddesses of light, of sea and sky and land, clockwork angels, the people raise their hands as if to fly, and again, trailing out.
Did we bring up the interaction Geddy would do with the crowd on that line where the lights would pan up over the seats and everybody would put their hands up?
Yeah, the idea of as they say, that's the idea of it being an audience participation thing to say, hey gang, join in with us, as if you're.
We mentioned it, but I wanted to point out specifically with that. I did watch the live version a couple times prepping for this roundtable, and one of the commenters on the video I was watching was actually a guest of Howard Ungerleider's, and he for this tour. I can't remember which stop they said, but I don't remember. But he wanted to throw a shout out to Howard's work on this, so I'm glad you brought that up. Was talk about how because we're talking about like that that part, and the lights are perfect.
Even just watching on YouTube now, it still gives me chills. Like,
yes,
it's such an impactful moment. It's so cool.
So the spectacle, the pageantry, the things we've been talking about. So major shout out to Howard. Howard, if you're watching this, incredible work.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for the pageantry too, apparently.
Oh, he's watching.
Right. Oh, he has been on around, well, technically, it was a guest from when Eric and I were up in Canada that time. But
it's true.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so after it leads out, takes us to the solo. Someone tell me about that.
Well, we all play guitar, at least to a certain extent, so we could all talk about it. This is kind of begins as one of those Lurk-style single string solos where he hits that open B and does a bit of a double hammer. That kind of phrasing I've always enjoyed. Obviously, it figures heavily into a solo for YYZ, Zed for those north of the border. But so many bands of that era have done that kind of phrasing, whether it's AC/DC or Iron Maiden. But the idea that the notion of that wide interval just sort of, to me, has that contribution to that kind of soaring effect where you got that nice little jump up. Solo's mostly a B minor kind of tonality, E minor, B minor, no C's thrown in, so he's not turning it into B Phrygian or anything like that. So it's pretty pentatonic in its minor, but he's not staying in a pentatonic box for the most part. And obviously, Now I was gesturing to my where Rob sits on my screen, which everyone should know. Come on.
Not just the way he does that. Usually he builds the solos in a certain way. Like this has a really quick that ascending figure in the beginning part. Then he winds it down just the way he's like this again, this ascending motion, excuse me, and then coming back down to crowd level. That's the impression I always get when I hear the solo. Just you're in Chrono Square or at a Rush show, and everything's coming back down to crowd level. That you're kind of at that level with those people. So just the way that builds up is very fast jump, and then it comes the other direction, that up and down. Like you have the camera work at a game, like a football game. You see that camera on the cable moving around. I always get that sort of, not vertigo, but just that motion. There's a motion
soaring.
there.
Soaring is how I usually describe it for the least musically gifted of the crowd, probably. But
and the feel to play this solo and to recreate it live over and over, just like the actual rhythm of the solo, it's not necessarily straightforward. It kind of reminds me of Cut to the Chase, which has a lot going on in it, but it's also it's weird rhythms, I've heard covers of both of these solos where it's like they nail them, but it doesn't quite feel right, and it's just because that's just Alex Lifeson playing. It's one of one.
Well, and then specifically him with the guys that he's been working with for so long, which is exactly why I absolutely avoid listening, seeking out covers of stuff like this. It's like I don't want to hear myself playing it. I only want him to hear him playing. I certainly don't want to hear fill in the name of the blank playing it.
And it's no disrespect. Like they can play guitar way better than I ever could.
Yeah, it's like everybody do it up, but like Eric says, that awkwardness. If it's like it's just not there. It's like listen to Lifeson do it. It's like now everyone else like no, not there.
Yeah, there's so many covers of La Via Strangiato that you can find, and they get the notes right almost every time, but they don't get that feeling, especially on Alex's part. They just don't capture it.
True.
All right. After the solo, it takes us to an interlude with vocal effects. And this is, I love this. I'm going to have something to say about this. Lean not upon your own understanding. Ignorance is well and truly blessed. Trust in perfect love and perfect planning. Everything will turn out for the best. And everything will turn out for the best. I do want to jump in with my own little contribution to this, which is, if you notice at the bottom of your lyric sheet here on the album, it says, where are we at? Oh, the help file's on the right side. There we go. There's an asterisk, and it says Proverbs 3:5 and an In-N-Out milkshake. So I know what that's about, but so we're not hearing my own voice going over and over again. Would someone like to, does anyone know what that is? Or I can read the note I wrote down if not. I just want to give somebody else a speaking part.
Yeah, the
I
proverb.
didn't know In-N-Out did that, but apparently they do.
Oh, they make milkshakes? I never ate
Yeah, they have milkshakes too. Yeah.
So yeah, lean not upon your own understanding is from Proverbs 3:5. And in other words, it's trust in God and lean not in your own understanding and turn everything over, which is, if you've been keeping up with the themes of Caravan, BU2B, and now Clockwork Angels, that is a common recurring thematic point. But it's also at the bottom of the milkshake cups on from In-N-Out Burger. It says Proverbs 3:5, and that is what they are referencing. So the things we learn. But obviously the vocal effect, very ethereal, angelic, everything we've been saying cranked up to. This vocal effect goes to 11. But yeah, so definitely laying it on thick here.
Milkshake.
Well, also live. I mean,
I walked right into that, Rob.
Thank you.
I'm going to leave now.
Well, the live Neil shifted to the back or the rear kit for this part. Because you check out the video, which is readily available on YouTube, and you see the drum set spins around, so he's facing the orchestra, switches over to the rear kit for this bridge interlude section, while Geddy's up front, his vocals real time live. He's definitely getting a little more I don't know. I feel like it was. He was pretty. I'm about to use the word falsetto with Geddy. It's like I've never done that before. I don't think anyone's done that before. But yeah,
there was one song he went
I know.
falsetto on Snakes and Arrows, and I don't remember which one it was, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking, it's like, yeah, the way he did, the way I was just thinking that though, the way they did it live, it's like, yeah, it was such a drastic feel, and and I think of that with like Eric referencing the swing on Geddy's bass part, and when we think of time signatures, anything with an 8, 6/8, 9/8, that's more of a dance feel. And it usually has a hop or a jump or something. I mean, Saltarello, Tarantello, those are Italian dances, jigs, slip jigs. But that 8 feel or that triplet feel is common in blues, and that shuffle in blues is not dissimilar, says he with an intentional double negative, to a swing. But yeah, it's just interesting that they play with the rhythm in this in such an organic, natural fashion that does not represent who they were like in 1982 or 87.
It's almost like a waltz, which again we're back to choreography. Shayne, how did you bring this up 4 hours ago?
Right.
All right, there's an anecdote there. If we go into it, we're going to go off on a tertiary story. I don't want to do that, but the dancing.
We'll do that episode eventually, so subscribe.
Right.
And let's keep in mind for everyone that 3/4 is not 6/8. Those are very different feels. As far as time signatures, it's not fractions. It's math, but it's not math. So.
Rush, music for mathematicians.
So, yes.
And these lyrics, these story-wise, these are the angels, I guess stepping forward or rolling forward or whatever it is that they just, be pushed out, whatever. They take their turn, each of the 4, and they tell their proverbs. They display their platitudes, whatever it is that they've got saying for the day. So that's sort of story-wise why there's such a drastic feel change here, is because this is now the Clockwork Angels speaking. This is perhaps what the people down below are hearing. So that's why we go to this swing from the big chorus.
And I guess why it's that megaphone effect on the vocal too.
So say that. Yep.
Absolutely.
And then to end, coming out of this bridge and back into the next verse, Geddy repeats the last line of The Last Angel, almost like a call and response kind of thing. Like, oh yes, everything will turn out for the best. It's sort of like the people saying it back.
Yes. And that's going to come back to the core. Well, we have one more verse to hit, but that is what I was talking about with the final chorus as well, with things being repeated back. Because the last verse, Alex, did you find it in the book, by the way? I saw you digging, so I wasn't sure.
No, I didn't get to it quickly enough. I don't want to waste our time.
Cool. All right, last verse. Stars aglow like scattered sparks, span the sky in clockwork arcs, hint at more than we can see, spiritual machinery. And then right back into the final chorus, which is doubled in on itself. Clockwork Angel with massive heavy vocals and all the music stuff we'll get to and have talked about up to now. It's like a crescendo here. Clockwork angels spread their arms and sing. Synchronized and graceful, they move like living things. Goddesses of light, of sea and sky and land. Clockwork angels, the people raise their hands. Notice they don't come back with as if to fly. It goes right back into doubled up. Clockwork angels spread their arms and sing. Synchronized and graceful, they move like living things. Goddesses of light, of sea and sky and land. Clockwork angels, the people raise their hands. And then it fades to as if to fly, the lone voice, and then a heavy ending. But what I want to talk about with those lyrics, the way they're on here and sung, and the song is structured. Eric, like you said way back early in this episode, now they say the chorus once, then the chorus is repeated back. I very much got that feel, like a mantra where, and now we say it, and now you say it. Mm-hmm. So I like whacking me over the head with it. So
yeah, that's a great point. It doesn't get smaller as this song ends. It it gets that brief pause where we get the as if to fly one last time, and then it's heavy again until they cut off, which I think it's a great way. It's like, oh, that there's this huge spectacle of the angels proclaiming their wisdom, and then when it's over, and it's like, now what? And there's just these echoes of what the angels might have been saying, and am I really hearing that? What are those voices that are still continuing on?
Do you turn your volume up very loud right there? Because if you do, after that last, as if to fly, and then the last booming in the music comes in and the song cuts out, how many of you have been paying attention? Crank your volume up, although get ready for the next song to begin. And very, very softly, you're going to hear, "What do you lack?" I didn't hear it till the 4th or 5th time listening to the album when I had it pretty loud. It might have been the first time I had headphones on too. Now that I think about it, listening to the album, because for people who remember episode 200, I was out of Rush for a bit. I'm going to keep the anecdote very short. I got into Clockwork Angels as I was learning to walk again after I had spinal surgery. So I would leave the house listening to Caravan. I would return home back to my wife at the time when The Garden was playing. But matter of fact, I know that's when I first heard this. I'm walking down the street, being very mindful of my steps and learning to walk again. And all of a sudden I'm like, the hell was that? So I zipped back just a couple seconds and of course blasted my eardrum out because it was the end of the song proper again. But then I heard, "What do you lack?" whispered very quietly. And then the Anarchist just starts with the tom. So
yeah,
that was
the unknown 13th song of the album. Because on the lyric sheet, it gives its own title, right? Like they call it The Peddler.
It is The Peddler
title.
Right here. And there's artwork and a quick little, I'm glad you said this. So here's the artwork. Oh, yeah. There's The Peddler. And if you've read the book, you've already met the Peddler. We mentioned him in Caravan. So he was walking down the road in Barrel Arbor when they were expecting a rainstorm. And weirdly enough, the rainstorm didn't occur at the exact time it was supposed to, which is odd for there. And this gentleman pushing his cart comes up to Owen, our protagonist, and he asks him a simple question: "What do you lack?" So a foggy woodland road, a crowded village square, the busy streets of Crown City, a wandering peddler travels the land, uttering the ageless call. What do you lack?
Yeah, this reminds me of like a little bit of the Necromancer, how it starts, that little narration with that weird, vocal thing going on. It gives me that vibe, just the art and the verbiage.
And I don't remember which of the 3 novels it's in. I want to say it's in Clockwork Live somewhere, but you get more details about the Peddler. I think it's revealed in Clockwork Angels proper, the novel.
It is.
But I think you get a lot more detail in Clockwork Lives of
Well, we've already said it on a roundtable. So as far as the identity of the Peddler,
okay, we've already said it is the Watchmaker.
Peddler is the watchmaker wandering. And I think even Neil said in that interview I keep referencing, where he tells you very, very early on, it's right there on the page, that is the watchmaker's way of finding out, is there anything people lack in the stability, or are they perfectly content? And Owen, for example, when first asked that, how could I lack for anything? The watchmaker gives us all these wonderful things. The watchmaker's walking away going, yes, my stability is working just fine. But clearly it is not.
And I think it's in Clockwork Lives where it's sort of revealed that the watchmaker had a way of knowing that Owen was the one he needed to go see. He had calculations and all sorts of stuff that said I need to provoke this boy in particular to see what's really going on with the stability.
Yes. Destiny calculators were all pointing to him.
Mm-hmm.
So I did take a note, but I think I took a note for another song, so I'm going to hold off on that, but it's on that same topic. So make sure you are subscribed to this channel so you never miss any of the Clockwork Angels roundtables or our live streams, and you always get notified. Guys, last thoughts on this, whether it's live versions, I believe they opened with this one time on R40, the very first one, Tulsa. Do I have that right? And then they switched to the Anarchist for the rest of the tour.
No, I'm not sure.
Mm.
I thought that came up on one of the live streams last week, but I did not see this tour myself in person, so do not hold me to that fact.
Awesome.
So
That's some homework for the viewers.
Yeah.
there you go.
You can find that list online.
All right, gentlemen. Last thoughts? Anything else? I want to thank you guys, by the way, for a fantastic roundtable. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Much appreciated.
Likewise.
And considering next week will be the Anarchist, what do we lack? Well, going into the Anarchist, not much, but stay tuned. So that being said, thanks again from all of us to all of you. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say go Wolves. Thank you, gentlemen.